So I think we'll finish off with what your current cycle looks like, because everybody will want to ask, so we'll get them told.
What my current cycle
What's a current cycle look like for a competing sort of bodybuilder that's going for the top?
Test, mast, train is my anabolics. You've got Anavar and Winstraw at the moment as well. In terms of fat burners, I have Clenin. Just last week we've added T3 and T4. Growth. I think that covers it. In terms of like drugs, I'm using L-carnitine as well, but that doesn't really.
You were saying that works well at getting the fat off.
L-carnitine's got loads of benefits, but the primary use I'm using it for is it causes your body to use fats as an energy source as opposed to like glycogen.
And is that an injectable?
Yes, the oral form of L-carnitine isn't
poorly absorbed.
It's very poorly absorbed. It's something like 5%, if even that. Whereas your injectable stuff is you're absorbing almost all of it.
That's good.
So,
what's it like to inject?
It's sore. The L-carnitine.
Nippy?
I mean, it's not really nippy as you inject it per se, but afterwards it depends where I put it, but I put it in my bicep once and that was fucking terrible.
Did you just feel like it was bruised or sore?
Aye. Supposedly the stuff that I got is supposed to be no pain. So seemingly other L-carnitine's even worse.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing I was going to ask you about. What's your thoughts on synthol?
Never used it. Wouldn't use it. Obviously, there are pro bodybuilders who've used it. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Some people have obviously used it well. Some people have used it fucking terribly.
So if people don't know, it's site injection oil that you inject into the muscle to expand it. So it
stretches the fibres.
Semi-permanent, stretches it out. You've probably seen fucking the people on the internet that have injected it. Like
Greg Valentino.
He was the famous case. He was fucking out there.
Those arms, they ended up getting infected.
They were massive, weren't they?
Aye.
What got in his mind? He did say, he says it was attention. He just loved the attention. He was like, guys were mushing their girlfriend out the way, but like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, just loved that thrill. But he definitely sounded like he was on a shitload of tren. Because he had that sort of, doolally fucking Looney Tune sort of approach that is a telltale sign that
there's got to have been something there for what he done to get his arm, like, it must be a bit obsessive, I guess, to have went to that stage. Because surely at some point he went a bit far here. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look fucking normal anymore.
The line of, like, if you imagine that bodybuilders were looking for that, just that little bit of fill out to have that aesthetic look, there's a line that crosses where it starts to get like, this is cartoonishly ridiculous.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And he was way past that line. Like way, way, way beyond that line. And it was weird because I remember Dorian Yates doing he must have been doing commentary on a bodybuilding show. There was a guy called Ernie Taylor who had unbelievably overdeveloped triceps and he had really, really poor calves. And Dorian's comment was, people are sort of suggesting that Ernie had put some sort of oil into his triceps to make them look that big. And in the very kind of English, off the cuff, sort of, mildly put way, Dorian's like, well, if people are suggesting that he's put this in his triceps, it's sort of defeated that when he should have put it in his calves, because if he put it in his calves, he'd look much bigger than he did. So I don't think his triceps are overdeveloped with synthol, because he would have done it in his calves to fill them out. But it's just one of the kind of strange things that people will do for that edge. And I think it's one of those things in moderation, if done well, yeah, maybe that's got a place. I don't. For me, a purist, I'd be like, nah, just show us what you've got.
I don't like it. Like it's usually obvious you've done it as well. Like there's a guy that's he's been called out by judges for using it in his back, etc. And it's got this obvious weird shape to it, where his lat's almost got almost a right angle as it comes in, where he's obviously putting something in it, but he'll flat out deny he's used anything. He's like, I've just got high lat insertions. And I'm like, yeah, so do I, but my lats don't go like almost at a fucking right angle. Like,
so what was happening was that the lat's popping out and then it's going almost square.
Almost, aye, because it's there's clearly something going on. He flat out denies it, and I'm sure I've actually seen him use the same argument. Why would I not put it in my calves as well?
Yeah,
but I mean, you're still an amateur, and at amateur level, they're not really looking at your calves. Mm-hmm. But he's at judges have marked him down, saying that there's something going in there.
Have you ever seen the guys that are on stage and it's like a pus is fucking pouring out them?
No.
I've seen that. Guys are on stage. There was a guy who was on stage and it came out his shoulders. It's hit him most muscular. He's went like that, and it's just like fucking oil has come out like a pussy spot. Aye. And he's went like that, and the fucking oil has literally just poured out. And I don't know, like I'm again making the assumption that he's put something in there,
or had a bad jag, one of the two.
I mean, it was like there was volume coming out of this. Like he's just hit the pose, he's hit the most muscular like this, and I'm sure it was his right shoulder, and it just looked like a yellowy kind of fucking fluid that's just burst out his shoulder.
Sounds like an abscess or something.
That's what it looked like. It looked like an abscess had popped out. But some of the things that you hear over the years, you go, people just push us to the fucking crazy degrees.
I mean, there was a couple of years where they kept saying Hadi had something in his shoulders. Hadi Troopin.
Did they?
His shoulders were very suspect looking for a couple of
Were they?
years, aye. And they kept saying that he maybe had something in them. But it could have just been too much scar tissue for jagging in his delts, to be fair.